worked your whole life to get here. The last thing you should worry about is running out of money. Safe Money Radio, real strategies for guaranteed retirement income. I'm Brett Blake. Let's make sure your money lasts as long as you do. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Safe Money Radio. My name is Brett Blake. I'm your host for today. I'm excited about our next guest. He's a past stockbroker and now a fierce advocate for seniors, helping retirees across the country discover a little-known government-backed loan program that could change everything about the way they fund their retirement. Please welcome the president and founder of Hero Loans, LLC, Michael Standard. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brett. I appreciate your time. Appreciate you inviting me on.
Well, we're grateful to have you, and I'm excited to be able to have this show because, again, like we said in the introduction, this is a program I think a lot of people are nervous about, they're scared about. So I want to make sure that we cover the details and give them the facts so that they can make good decisions.
Yeah.
But before we do, you started as a stockbroker. Most people lean into being a stockbroker. You walked away from that. Can you kind of tell me why you decided you wanted to focus on seniors?
Well, when I was a financial advisor for, I was in the bank channel in Merrill Lynch. So when I was there, and by the way, I cut my teeth at New York Life right out of college because they said I needed more sales experience, right? I went to New York Life, started there as a financial advisor in the bank channel. Bank of America Investment Services is where I really started as a financial advisor. I loved the seniors who would come into my little office in the bank, and I had 6 branches I covered and did a lot of windshield time. But they would come in, we'd sit down, talk about finances, talk about how they made their wealth, where the best berries were to get the best berry pies made, where the fishing hole was hot, and that type of stuff. I love that. And I learned so much from them that I just have a passion for seniors. Sure, I work with high net worth individuals. I work with cities and counties and all that fun stuff. But my love is for seniors, and I'm very compassionate towards them too, because as they age and as they get into those processes, life gets expensive. Illnesses are super expensive. Yeah. Major medical illness now is costing, as we know, about $500,000 for cancer, $500,000 for a stroke. So, the government pays for some of it, but not all of it. And so our seniors are burdened with medical bills. And this, I find, what I do is a solution for some of that.
Okay. We're going to talk about that. Let me ask this first, though. Hero Loans is the name of your company, LLC. There's a story behind that. Tell me about that.
So I was talking to another wholesaler. By the way, I do this wholesale, which means there's no added charges or fees. And he was saying, we should change this whole product to home equity retirement option loans. Hero, home equity retirement option loans. And I said, yeah, and I love veterans too. My brothers are veterans, my dad's a veteran, my grandpa's a veteran. So that was the impetus for that. Was heroes are important, and we have to serve them too.
Awesome.
Yep.
Love that. Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty here. We teased our listeners the fact that we have a not a well-known, a very little known government program that they can tap into. You want to just let's start out by describing what that is and what you're talking about there.
So from the outside, the acronyms HECM, HECM. And from the outside, it allows a senior to use a portion, not all, a portion of their equity tax-free for whatever they want and not have to make payments.
And not have to make payments. I want to make sure I heard that
right. I could take $100,000 out. FHA, Federal Housing Authority, puts a lien against my house for $100,000. If I want to make payments, I can, but I don't have to. I'm not required to. When I pass away, the house is sold and pays off the lien.
Okay.
I got to use that money tax-free. And the benefit of it from the high level, again, without a lot of details, is now the house and all the remaining equity goes to my kids in the end. But hopefully it kept me out of a nursing care facility. Hopefully I wasn't forced to sell the home, right? Because I did something wise with the funds. So leveraging that equity, which is usually some of the biggest assets now that seniors have, because they did the right thing. They bought that house a long time ago. and it's paid off, and they bought it for $50,000 and it's worth 500. So from the outside, allows you to use equity tax-free, not have payments, and make sure the house goes to the kids in the end.
So, talk to me more about the government's role here. Like you mentioned that this is an FAA program, no payments. Kind of walk through what actually that looks like.
You bet. So I'll give you the history on it. In 2016,
Yeah.
when Ben Carson became the head of HUD, Housing and Urban Development, Scott Turner is now too. In fact, he's a Texas boy, which is kind of fun. And they basically, Ben said, this loan is broke. It used to be called the reverse mortgage. Okay. It's broken. It doesn't work. And he said, we need to change this loan so seniors can use their home equity safely and age in place and not go on Medicaid. Medicaid is when you run out of money and you have to go to a facility, nursing home, and the state pays for it. Well, they take your house to pay it off, your bill. So he said, basically, we need to have seniors age in place, have long-term care or have a plan for long-term care and not go on Medicaid. 40% of seniors go on Medicaid. That's why they changed this loan. They kicked all the banks out of it. No bank can do it. It's regular interest rates. Now it's based on your age. The older you are, the more equity you have access to. And the home goes to your kids in the end and all the remaining equity. They made the changes, Brett, because they want to make sure that seniors don't go on the government Medicaid program.
So in the end, they feel like this is actually a better use of government money to be able to back these loans than to pay for the Medicare programs out there.
Because Medicaid's expensive. I have one facility about 2 miles from my house, and they only charge $6,000 a month Medicaid. So the state gets paid $6,000 a month in the end.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what are the requirements? I mean, is there an age limit? There's a home value. Do you have to have so much equity in your home? What does that look like?
So you have to have at least 60% equity in your home now, because that's really where rates are. Rates are at 6%, 6.25%. Okay. That's what the loans lock at right now. They have to be 62 or older in most states. Texas is one. Louisiana is one. They have to be 62 or older, both people. Other states, it's not the case. But 62 or over, they have to have that 60% equity, 62, and they have to live in the home as their primary residence. That's it.
Okay.
$75,000 more value. They won't do them for less than that.
Do you recommend that they use this as a primary retirement fund, or is this more of a long-term care option for somebody? Or kind of how to guide me as you're talking to clients and I come in and I sit down with you and I'm thinking about my retirement and recognize, listen, I have $200,000 in the bank, but I have $500,000 in my home. And what does that conversation look like?
Well, it comes down to their needs, right? What is the need of the client? And I'm not a financial advisor anymore. It's too much of a conflict of interest for me. So what I advise a client to do is here's the equity in your home. What are your major needs? Oh, income. Or I want to travel more. Or some clients, I want to leverage it and go buy another commercial property. So people do it for different reasons, but I like seniors to know that if you just use the equity in your home, you can leave it there in a line of credit is what they call it. And that line of credit is earning interest like a money market account, and it's tax-free when you pull it out. So right now that money market account's earning 6.5%. So they could leave $150,000 in there and they could just let it sit there and grow over time. And as they need it, pull it out for whatever their need is. I also strongly recommend that they go talk with a financial advisor about getting some type of a product that allows them to do one of two or three things. Life insurance allows you to also they have riders for long-term care. So if you don't use it for life insurance and you need it for long-term care, you can use a portion of that death benefit. So you have $200,000 in that life policy, you can use, let's say, $150,000 of it for long-term care. And when you pass, just $50,000 of it's left for the kids. So whatever their major need is, but my goal in life is to help more seniors live in their homes as long as possible, age in place as long as possible. And they can do that with a long-term care policy. They can do that with an annuity with a long-term care rider, life insurance with long-term care riders on them too. So whatever their major need is, some of them just need mailbox money. They just need monthly income to come in. Well, there's lots of places you can take your debt equity that's tax-free, pull it out, and put it to work for you. It's just up to the person. But the question.
Okay, so there's not a cookie cutter. It's important to have a conversation and probably keep your advisor in the loop, bring you in to kind of help figure out how to wisely use that equity in your
Yeah,
home to be able to solve the needs you have. Now, you've talked a lot about long-term care and Medicare, and I think and Medicaid, and I think a lot of our listeners who aren't attuned to it, first of all, they don't think they're going to need long-term care. And secondly, they think that that's going to be available to them by the government.
yeah.
I think both of those are probably wrong, right?
Those are both wrong. That's correct. And the
Yeah.
sad truth is 70% of seniors get ill, and the illnesses now are not cheap, as we can see. Cancer is $500,000, heart attacks of $300,000, strokes are $500,000. I mean, very, very, very expensive. I just had a friend go have a triple bypass, $250,000 so far.
Wow.
So medical events are very expensive in America, and long-term care is not guaranteed. People think that the state will take care of them with Medicaid. Well, Medicaid, I'm not a Medicaid lawyer, but let me tell you, Medicaid leaves you $2,000 in your bank account. You get $118 a month from your Social Security. You get it. You're left with your wedding ring, and in the end, they take your house.
Yeah. So Medicaid is a last resort government program, and it really you either have to exhaust all of your assets.
That's right.
Or they will exhaust your assets for you.
Yeah. And ask me how many people use Medicaid in America?
How many?
The
I don't know.
statistic is 38% of seniors use Medicaid.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
just
almost
because they
40%.
hadn't thought about it prepared.
Yeah, because they haven't prepared, or they're like everyone else, working hard and putting very little away because they're taking care of their kids, and they're trying to pay their house off, and they're doing what they can, but they never really plan for it. Well, now their house is paid for. So in America today, the average amount of equity in seniors' homes is $250,000. That's average. And what could you do with that? Well, turn it into a long-term care plan. That'd be smart. If you don't use it, it goes to your kids, right? So there's beneficiaries on those products that have the long-term care riders on them. So if I don't use my long-term care, I get lucky enough to die in my sleep at 96. Then whatever's left in that annuity or life insurance policy goes to my kids.
So we're sitting here thinking, okay, this is really, I as you're talking, I'm thinking about clients I've spoken with who are calling me saying, I need to sell my annuity. I need to, I need to do something. I need to declare bankruptcy. There's all of these I need to. I mentioned in our conversation before, I had a father-in-law who decided he wanted to give up a very good life insurance policy because he couldn't afford it. 6 months later, he wished he would have had it.
Yeah.
And it would have made all the difference for his wife left behind. But there are many seniors who get to a place where they feel like they've exhausted all their options and they don't really think about their equity in their home because they're afraid of losing their home.
Right.
Talk to me about the fear of people have when they come talk to you and what they're worried about.
I think that's the biggest misconception that seniors have about using their equity in their home. Well, we can do a HELOC loan, home equity line of credit through a bank. If you don't make your payments, the bank will take your house. But with a home equity conversion mortgage, by contract, the home goes to whoever the heir is in the end. So it could be your kids, for example. Joe gets a house. He has 12 months to sell it. He keeps all the remaining equity that's left over that you didn't spend as a senior. So that's the biggest misconception is they think the government's going to take their house. The government doesn't want their house. The government can't offload their house fast enough. And it goes for pennies anyway when they do it, because they have to do it in foreclosure process.
So they give you your heirs 12 months to sell the house.
12 months to sell it or refinance it and
Wow.
keep it. And
Okay.
95% of seniors want to make sure their house goes to their kids. And 95% of kids want to sell the house. They don't want to keep it. But it allows the kids to get things together. And I've done plenty of these. I've been in this industry a long time. I have a lot of clients who've passed away. And we help their kids sell their house. I help them through the steps of getting everything into the HECM processing company so that they know it's being sold, it's listed, and the whole process. And then we help them sell their house and keep all that remaining equity. We're doing one right now. I'm doing one right now. And she took out a home equity conversion mortgage to help her husband, who was in assisted living. She didn't want him to go on to Medicaid, because that would have been a worse home, right? Because in Medicaid, they put you 2 or 3 in the same room. The government does. So in a nursing care facility, assisted living, it's 1 person per room. So she pulled money out of her house doing this because she couldn't afford a payment for HELOC. So he was in the home for about a year. He passed away. And now she wants to sell the house because she doesn't want to be there by herself, and she wants to move closer to her kids. So we're actually helping her sell her house, and she's going to have about $300,000 of equity that she can use for the rest of her life. She's 90. So, she'll do whatever she can. She has a financial advisor who will help her with that, which is great. But now she's just going to relax. There was a lot of money left in that house.
That's great. Is there ever a time when it's not the right thing for a senior? Do you think that?
Yeah, here's 2 times when you shouldn't do it. One is if you have a child who's living in your home, who needs to live in your home. Maybe they're medically handicapped or handicapped. Shouldn't do that, because in the end, the kid's going to have to sell the house or refinance and keep it. If they're handicapped, that usually doesn't work. Okay. And FHA, we try to avoid that completely at FHA. Secondly, the other time is if you don't think you're going to be there for more than a year, don't do it. Don't do it.
Really? So at least a year.
Yeah, think about it. At least a year, because you're paying FHA's fees to do this loan. There's fees in it. There's insurance in it too. We'll talk about the non-recourse insurance, which is pretty fascinating. Yeah. But yeah, if I wouldn't do it if I'm not going to be there for more than a year.
Okay.
Then I won't do it with the client.
So let's talk about those elements, the fees. What do you expect in that transaction? When I get to a closing on this, what does that process look like? Do I have to go through an appraisal process like I would normally?
Yes.
On a refinance, is there a bank involved? Kind of.
So I'll walk you through the process. We'll keep it real simple. First of all, we have to do an application, electronic application, pull credit. Then they have to go through FHA HECM counseling. It's a 45-minute counseling phone call with a qualified FHA counselor who checks to make sure they don't have dementia, that they understand how the loan works, the lien works, and they're doing it for the right reasons and not being pushed into it. Okay? So that's good, because
love that.
Because some kids have pushed their parents into doing things that they shouldn't have, right? So FHA is very cautious about that. I call it compliance up front. We do all the compliance up front. Then we do the appraisal. Okay. When the appraisal is done, I'll talk about the fees. So let's say the house appraises for $500,000.
Okay.
There is a 2% fee, one-time insurance fee. It's called initial mortgage insurance premium. That $10,000 in that example is now and makes it a non-recourse loan. What does non-recourse mean? Non-recourse is this: if that $500,000 home, they take out all the money and live a long time, and now the loan's $550,000, and the market drops like it did in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? So now their house isn't worth 550 or 600; it's now worth 300. They have a $550,000 loan or lien against their house, and the house isn't worth that much, and they die. Well, what happens is the government says it's a non-recourse loan. We charged you an insurance fee. They eat that loss between 550 and 200. So they would eat that $250,000 loss, and the house still goes to the kids at 95% of value. No one gets burnt. No one gets hurt. There's no lawyers involved. And they can have peace that now that non-recourse loan is going to save them. Now, that's 2% fee. Again, in that situation, that's $10,000, 2% of whatever it appraised for. Then you have regular fees, escrow, title, and tax. Okay. So regular loan fees, like if I do a HELOC for somebody, there's fees in it, right? Because
Yep.
charge fees. But no one does a non-recourse loan except FHA with this HECM. And the best part about it, thankfully, we've never had to use it, but the best part is it's a one-time fee, only once. And you're not going to find insurance for that amount of coverage for $10,000.
Right. So all of these fees get bundled into the loan. So if the fees equal $10,000 and you're bringing $100,000 out of the house, you're getting a $90,000 out of the house or $110,000 loan. You're not having to come up with all this money in order to be able to do the transaction.
Not like a regular loan where sometimes you have to bring money in. So all those fees come out of the equity.
Okay.
So if you're $100,000, so the $10,000, like you said, is fees. So you're only going to get $90,000 of your equity because they take the fees out of that, not out of the pocket. Okay.
So let me go back to this. The example you shared where the house was, you borrowed $500,000 against the house, and the house is now worth $300,000. That gap, the government's going to pick up. But you said it goes at 95% to the heirs.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that the family gets, what? I'm trying to do the math, $270,000 in equity. That means they take that house, they still need to sell it and satisfy as much of the loan as the house will allow, right?
Yeah, okay. Because in the past, what they would do, and with the old reverse mortgage, the old one, the bank owned it, the bank would take it over, and the kids would have to pay, or be faced with a bankruptcy. Because
so they'd have to pay that difference. So the bank would take the house at $300,000 and still owe the bank $200,000. That's gone.
That's gone now, which is great because we need seniors to use their equity to age in place.
Yeah. Love this.
It's not real well known. And that's the part that is great in my industry and also frustrating. Because if seniors knew this, just about every senior I talked to, I had a couple on the phone last night. They're retiring. Their financial advisor sent them to me. And the wife said, after we had our brief conversation, she said, "Okay, what's the catch?" "I'm waiting for the shoe to drop," he says. I said, "No catch. The government doesn't want you to go on Medicaid. They want you to use your equity and live a better life so you don't have to fall back on the state or the federal government. That's the intent of this loan."
Yeah. This is so important. So there's listeners out there who are going to use this themselves. There's also children that are adult children who have parents who are in difficult situations. And it's important for you to know, if you're one of those children, that your parents have options and you can help them through this option. Now, let me ask this question. Let's say I am an adult child of a parent who has dementia, who is the single owner of that home. Are we stuck? Is there anything that can be done to help them, or is it too late? I mean, do we need to do this before?
We would prefer to do it before because it's easier, right, on everybody.
Yeah.
But if you're the child who has a power of attorney, durable power of attorney, then you can take counseling for them, and FHA will let you do the loan for your parent.
Okay.
The scary part, and the statistic that, and I hear this all the time from the children. Well, I don't want the equity to go to the state, and I don't want the equity, if they do this loan, then I won't get as much money. Well, my question to you then is, if you're that child, if 70% of seniors statistically have to sell their house and go to assisted living, how's that helping your parents? because if you help them now using their equity wisely, maybe they can age in place and still pass the house to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because 70% of them don't. And my wife's a realtor. Trust me, we're selling people's homes to put them in a nursing care facility all the time. All the time.
And this doesn't have to happen. You don't have to be in a rush, especially right now when it's a buyer's market, not much of a seller's market in many places in the United States.
Yeah.
Having the ability to kind of make that decision later could be a benefit to them.
Yeah.
Michael, you're licensed in Oregon and in Texas,
Washington and Florida.
and in Washington and Florida. So those 4 states. If you're listening to this, watching this, have more questions, and you live in those states, you should go to HeroLoansLLC.com. You get a hold of Michael there. If they're outside of those 4 states, they're interested. I'm sure they can learn a lot on your website.
Yep.
But you can help them with questions. You can't help them with the actual loan, right?
Right. And I have wholesale partners who I can send them to who would do the loan for them. So
okay.
And on my website, actually, I have 2 videos similar to this. Talks about doing a reverse purchase. Also, one talks about doing the reverse refi. And I also have all of the HUD rules on my website, so they can read the rules that HUD lists on their government website. So you're getting the facts. There's no sales here. You have to qualify. You have to pass the counseling test, and your house has to appraise correctly for you to even have access to the equity. So I want people to be as educated as possible when they go into this, that they're doing it for their purpose in life that they want. Now, I had one client, Brett, whose goal in life was to take all of her grandkids someplace special. That's her goal. And her husband passed. She wanted to do something with her grandkids. She took 2 of them to Vegas who are older. She took 3 or 4 to Disney World. And, her next trip is maybe taking the kids, her children, on a cruise. That's all she wanted to do with the money. Build a memory.
Yeah.
And I had another client
love that,
who's very well off and took the funds out and invested half of it with his financial advisor. And the other half, he's going to go buy another rental property. So, because his kids don't eat it.
And he's saying I can do better than 6.9%
Yeah.
in other investment options. So,
well, I talked to his financial advisor. He's doing about 70%. 70.
Wow.
Yeah, he does crazy.
The math works out well.
Yeah, he does crazy stuff with it, but they've both done well. So
that's amazing. Well, Michael, I appreciate you being on the show today. Are there any things that we should have talked about that we missed that is important for people to know about this program?
Yeah, here's a couple things that I always try to reiterate with clients or with prospects is this. This is an FHA loan. Okay, it's an insured loan, non-recourse. It's a lien, actually. You don't have payments. There is no payments required. You can make payments, but you don't have to. And in the end, the home goes to your children, not the state. And hopefully you did something with your equity to make sure you can age in place as long as possible. People need to understand that they're not going to lose because the government has set it up for them to be able to sustain their lifestyle and stay at home as long as possible. Because if you don't, nursing care facilities are $6,000 to $7,000 a month, okay, or more. And if it's your parent and they have some investments, but they're house rich and cash poor, how are they going to make it? So think about that for your parents. What's the best strategy? In fact, we're working with 2 daughters who are helping their mom. And what they're doing is fixing up, using the home equity conversion mortgage because she doesn't have cash flow to fix up her house. So she's got the bars in her restroom. She's got the roll-in shower. Everything's being set up for her so she can stay there as long as possible. And then they're going to work with their financial advisor to do some type of a long-term care plan. So just trying to help mom stay at home as long as she can safely. And that's important.
Yeah.
Because we need to protect our seniors. There's a lot of wealth in their homes, and they need to understand it's your equity. You earned it. Put it to work for yourself and your family.
Yeah. And is it safe to say that most of our seniors have more equity in their home than they probably do in their savings account?
Yep. Average is $250,000 of equity per senior in the United States. 2 out of 3 seniors have their homes paid off. That's a lot of equity sitting there doing nothing except for waiting for what? An event, a nursing care event, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Again, if you're listening today, if you're interested in learning more, you're going to go to Hero Loans LLC.com.
Yep.
I'm going to get that right. Hero Loans LLC.com. Michael, what's the one thing you would like our Safe Money Radio listeners to remember from today's conversation?
Well, I like the word safe money. Using your equity to save money.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with this program that the government's provided to be able to protect our seniors.
Yeah, and leave a legacy for your children and your grandchildren. You want them to remember something good, not that I got to visit grandma in the nursing care facility, which I got to visit my grandma in the nursing care facility. It wasn't fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate your time today, Michael. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for leaving the brokerage firm to come and help these seniors with this program. Yeah. It's a great program. I'm grateful we were able to spend some time to be able to educate more Americans, seniors, and their children about this program. So there's not as much fear. People can go into a conversation with you or someone you recommend who with a little bit more of an open mind and an understanding of how this can help and benefit them. So thank you. And thanks for tuning in today to Safe Money Radio. We appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye, Mike. Thanks for listening to Safe Money Radio. If this episode gave you something useful, will you consider sharing it with someone in your life who is close to retirement? That's how the show reaches people who may benefit from our plain language retirement income education. 2 things before you go. The Safe Money Guide is available at no cost at safemoneyradio.com. It's written in plain language, designed to help explain retirement income concepts, and includes how annuities may work. If you are ready for a conversation about your own situation, you can book a no-cost strategy call with a licensed insurance agent in your state directly from safemoneyradio.com. Now, just one word, I actually meet with the first few individuals who apply for a meeting each week on that site. Now, there's no obligation to purchase. The conversation is intended to help you understand your options and whether an annuity may be appropriate based upon your individual circumstances. I'm Brett Blake. Until next week, worry less and live longer.